All right, back on the Young Turks. Now we have a great guest for you guys, Matthew Dowd. He was worked on the successful re-election campaigns of President George W. Bush and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And he's now an analyst for ABC News and a columnist for the National Journal, where he wrote an article on WikiLeaks called To Tell the Truth, which I found very, very interesting. Matthew, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Great to be here.
All right. First, let's start talking about WikiLeaks.
Sure.
Do you view it overall, these leaking of these government files, as a good thing, a bad thing?
Well, you know, I think obviously the question is, it's got many parts to it, but I sort of err, as I wrote in the column, I sort of come down on the line of it's better to tell the truth, even if it becomes complicated or it makes things embarrassing, than not to. And I would rather have the public make a decision knowing the truth rather than somebody deciding before the public gets the information what the public needs to know. So in the end, obviously somebody's going to have to answer the question whether or not somebody was put at risk or not, but I think that when push comes to shove, it's much better to err on the side of the truth than not.
By the way, of course we do news commentary here, so I have opinions, sometimes strong ones, and I totally agree with you. I think this sheds a light onto our government, and that's part of what we, I think, want in a democracy. We certainly want the media to do, but the media, the rest of the media, oftentimes seems like they're very much against Julian Assange and what happened here. Well, what do you make of the media reaction?
Well, it's interesting. I think the media reaction is very interesting. I mean, a huge part has been muted, and they just report it as if, it's the government's doing this and Julian Assange is doing that, and therefore the media has no part in it. But the media was supposed to have been founded, and obviously the principles of this country is that the media was going to be a watchdog over the government and over corporations, over business, and over society. And if we have to sort of rely on the WikiLeaks of the world and even some other, internet sites or the National Enquirer, whatever, that they're going to be the ones that sort of put the sort of bald-faced truth out there, I think it does. The media is in need of some soul searching on this, to take a look at this, because I think that we're better off with more information out there. I have much more confidence, as I say, in the public's ability to wade through it and decide what they need or not to know, than for somebody to just stop the flow because that's the way it works. And I think the media does need to take a look at themselves and say, are we in the truth-telling business, or are we in the business, of that we're sort of like everybody gets along, goes along? And I think they got to make that decision.
I think that's a compelling point on the media. It's also an interesting perspective because in political terms, conservatives should, I think, be on your side because they're naturally skeptical of the government, right? And so the more transparency in the government, you would think that they would be on that branch. They'd be in favor of that. But that has not been the case in the media. We've seen Sarah Palin comparing Assange to Al-Qaeda. We've seen Bill O'Reilly calling for executions. Mike Huckabee, same thing. Are you disappointed by that reaction?
Well, I find some of it very interesting and some of it kind of a little bit humorous. It doesn't seem to be consistent. I mean, to me, the biggest advocates of the First Amendment and the Constitution, you would think, would be normally the conservatives of this country. That's sort of where they are. You take a look at like a justice like Scalia, who many people disagree with many decisions, but he's a huge advocate of the First Amendment and saying, let's get the information, let people have the information out there. The other thing that I find interesting is conservatives and many Republicans present an argument that we're not going to trust the government with our money. We're not going to trust the government with an extra $20 or $100. But, oh, by the way, we'll trust the government to make all sorts of national security and classified decisions. We think they have competence to do that, but we think they're totally incompetent, to spend an extra $1 on Medicare. And for me, it's either you believe that the government is suspect and we should constantly be a watchdog over them at all levels, which I actually believe we should be as a constant watchdog. I think there's a role for government, but I think the public and the media needs to be a watchdog on it. But I think conservatives sort of like have it on one hand, they want it one way, on the other hand, they want it another way. And there are a lot of conservatives to me that it doesn't seem a consistent position.
We're talking to Matthew Dowd. He's ABC News analyst, columnist for National Journal, and he worked on the re-election of George W. Bush, which of course then leads to the obvious question, Matthew. I mean, the Bush campaign, or I should say the Bush administration, wound up doing warrantless wiretapping, which is an enormous invasion of our privacy. How did you feel about that? I mean, given what you just said.
Well, I think, obviously, if you people sort of read through what I've gone through over the last 10 years, and I had done Democratic campaigns and then met the then governor and liked what he was doing in Texas and thought there was some stuff we could do bipartisan-wise in Washington. And then I had a very public break with him in the front page of the New York Times over a number of different things, and not the least of which money and my hopes and ideas that I thought it was going to be didn't turn out to be that way. I think my opinion is there was an overreach on many things, and obviously the article I wrote was spurred to a degree by a question my oldest son asked, who served in the Army. He said, basically, when did we become a country when we're not supposed to know the government secrets, but they're supposed to know all ours? And I think it's a very pointed, valid question. And, as I say, I think that we should be much more protective of the privacy of individuals and much less protective of the correspondence that goes on between one government agency and another.
Look, again, I couldn't agree more. But then looking at the Obama administration, and they have apparently continued warrantless wiretapping, what choice do we have? It appears you elect a Republican, you elect a Democrat, but the government grows bigger and it's intrusion of our privacy. And that's the one thing, what's maddening is that conservatives don't seem to mind. It's just...
Well, I'm hoping that this conversation, and one of, I think, the benefits, whether you agree with them or not on all the specific things of WikiLeaks, one of the benefits, I think, of this day and age and the ability to get information out there is it prevents the ability to bring all this closure around information and keep people from getting it. And so I think a benefit of this has got to be people have to start asking the question, as this information is going to get out there, maybe we should start putting a process together that allows that to happen as opposed to somebody else in a foreign country getting access to the information. I am hopeful that the public is in such a place on this that they just want a window. They don't trust the government. You would think at a time when there's so little trust of the government that one of the ways to rebuild that trust is make people think they're being transparent and honest. And I'm hopeful that part of what happens with WikiLeaks is some of that happens.
Final question for you, Matthew. And look, I agree with you. And in the realm of corporate world, too, WikiLeaks is also promising some more exposure there. And then perhaps that will motivate the corporate world to do right as well. Because if they find out that everybody's going to find out what they did, perhaps that creates a disincentive for fraud, right? But to the point of my question, I'm now worried. I see that the Obama Justice Department, led by Eric Holder, is considering finding ways to prosecute Julian Assange. Now, they don't have any ways of prosecuting him. He's not the one who did the leak. He's a journalist that is sharing that with the people. Would you be disturbed by that turn of events if they made that turn?
It would be disturbing to me, without some really valid thing that he put, like he did something where somebody's life was endangered or there was some serious thing, not just there was a releasing of embarrassing information that was classified information. And much of the people that are listening and watching whatever, this classification system is a joke, actually. I mean, they can classify just basically whatever they want to classify and tell people it's classified. And so I think if people try to shut down, and our Justice Department's in the business of basically trying to prevent information that is really unrelated to national security from leaking, it's a troubling situation.
Right, and it's cause for concern, I would think, for all journalists, because if they go after Julian Assange, if you get a story and you put it on the National Journal or ABC News, what's to say they can't come after you? Well,
I mean, and as I say, as you made the point earlier, and I completely agree with you, you would think that conservatives and Republicans and people that every day of their lives talk about the importance of the Constitution would be on board in ability to make government much more transparent and much more open. You would hope that that would be the case. As of now, most of the diehard conservatives have gone the exact opposite direction.
All right. Great conversation. Matthew Dowd writes for the National Journal and is an analyst for ABC News. Thank you so much for joining us on the Young Turks.
Great beer. Take care.
All right. Really appreciate it.